My back and knee pain have greatly improved by ignoring infomercials.
In this installment of the Yes or No game, we are joined by a giant of politics and a giant of person. Just a very tall man. That would be my friend, Charlie Kirk.
I am not the Nephilim.
You are not. You are not. You've never proven to me that you're not, but I am giving you the benefit.
There is a Reddit thread that says, is Charlie part of the Nephilim?
What did they conclude?
It's uncertain.
It's uncertain. If you want to ponder important questions such as, is Charlie among the Nephilim, you've got to get the Yes or No game. Right now, you go to dailywire.com/shop. We sold out once. I told you we were going to sell out. Then we ordered many thousands more copies. And what happened? I told you got to pre-order. We're going to sell out. We sold out again. We have ordered thousands and thousands of copies. Pre-order it, dailywire.com/shop. Play for yourself. Now we are going to play, Charlie.
Okay.
You, much more responsible man than I, you have a cup of coffee here.
I do.
I have a martini. Maybe I spiked your coffee. Who knows? Who knows? We'll find out.
That would be cruel. But
just to even out the playing field. You know, with the game, have you seen the rules at all?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay,
it's
so
like a drinking game.
I will go first. Short men are worse at politics. Okay, I am at least 3/4 of an inch larger than the average in the United States. Ben Davies. So short men are
So how do I
worse
think
at
you're going to answer?
Yes, and I'll answer how I think
Oh,
you would
okay.
answer.
Well, so I'm answering on behalf of you. It's very confusing.
You're right.
For your position?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, 100%. But it's not an exact rule. There's some awful tall politicians.
There are some awful now,
Like Bill de Blasio is awful.
and he is very tall.
He's incredibly tall.
So the reason I see that answer is presidents, the taller candidate generally wins.
Mm-hmm.
My reason for no, though, is that you've met many United States senators. You're friends with some of them, as am I. They're not the tallest bunch. The U.S. senators that I know, not presidents, but senators, and especially members of Congress, some of them are like 5'6". You know, these are some fairly diminutive people. I don't know why there's a difference between presidents and legislators, but that's just what I've noticed. So by a numbers game, I think these guys are pretty good.
So I think the question was, do politicians have a Napoleonic complex?
No, short men are worse at politics. Are worse at it. They're not as good at it.
But aren't you agreeing? The Senate's awful.
But no, but they're good at politics. Getting elected senator.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I understand.
You're
making just
imposing a value judgment on their politics.
Okay, got it. So,
wow.
So the taller candidate does usually win.
Yeah,
but I don't.
For president.
I mean, I'm going to get so much hate for this. I generally don't trust short people in power.
What about
generally? It's a general rule.
What would be a good example?
But short is very subjective.
What about DeSantis? He's not a very tall guy.
He's like 5'11"-ish, right? 6 foot. Everyone's short to me, though, so I'm kind of like...
I think it's more like...
I'm 6'3", 6'4",
I don't want to get called out by the DeSantis campaign. I think it's more like 5'9" or 10. He's not a very tall guy, as far as I can tell. But he's a good governor. What about... I'm trying to think of another good... Rand Paul. I like Rand Paul
Rand Paul's great.
He's not very tall.
Not very tall.
What about...
but there's also some... I mean, you could be too tall in politics. Like George Pataki, way too tall.
He was way too tall.
Yeah.
He was.
And, I mean, Glenn Youngkin, way too tall.
I've never met Youngkin.
James Comey, way too tall. You're like,
that's true.
You are not from this earth. Like,
Yeah.
That is too much.
And I would definitely agree with that as well. Okay, so I'm going to just drink.
Oh, okay.
Even though we both got that right.
So are you just looking for an excuse?
Yes.
All right.
Charlie, when I did...
L'chaim,
chin chin. We played this game... Well made. We played this game during Lent. This is the first time I ever gave up booze, like in my life. And we
For a
did
Catholic, that's tough.
It's very tough. I mean, we are sort of born into a
It's part of
vat
the
red
ceremony.
wine.
I mean,
yeah. I gave it up. I've got to make up for lost time.
Okay.
You're up.
All right. The Boy Scouts are now just retreats for libs. I'm an Eagle Scout, so
That's
I went to the Boy Scouts. You're right.
sad. Isn't that sad? You're an Eagle Scout. That's supposed to be a very impressive
Prestigious
achievement.
thing.
Yes. And now, these days,
It's the Scouts.
they took out the word boy, didn't they?
No, yeah, they allow girls in the Boy Scouts.
That's bad. I'll drink anyway.
Did I guess correctly?
You did.
Okay.
I just chose. It was
Oh.
a long Lent. I'm up. Women are funny.
So, okay.
Like, obviously, the exceptions exist. Exceptions prove rules. Yeah, that's true. Christopher Hitchens said there were 3 exceptions to that rule. I don't know if I can say them even. He published it in Vanity Fair, so I feel. He said that the only exceptions to women not being funny these are his words. They're not mine. He said they have to be hefty, dykey, or Jewish.
Or Canadian.
And he didn't, maybe you could add that as an addendum.
Isn't there a strange amount of comedians that come from Canada?
That's true, but I bet for women they still fall into one of those 3. Because when you think of the really prominent female comedians, almost all of them fall into one of those 3 groups. We could have an hours-long discussion of why that is.
Is it my turn?
You're up.
My back and knee pain have greatly improved by ignoring infomercials.
By ignoring infomercial, you would say no.
I think you would say yes. I think I know your pain reduction medium of choice.
That's true, and it has nothing to do with infomercials.
Has nothing to do with 100% drug-free.
Did I guess correctly?
No, yeah, you have.
That's great.
It's 100% drug-free Relief Factor, though.
That's true, and you throw a football great now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Perfectly.
That commercial went viral.
Good.
It did. It was an excellent commercial.
Well, I think people were very confused because they're so used to like the catheter commercial
Yes.
or the gold reverse mortgage pillow.
I will admit,
Or Larry Elder on a boat.
Yes. When I first saw the commercial, Charlie, I thought, look, I like Relief Factor. A lot of my friends endorse Relief Factor. Love Charlie. I said, but usually the people in these commercials are like 110 years old, and Charlie's like 20. So
I do have an awful back. That is an actual thing.
I know.
It's an
I know.
actual
I
thing.
remember. I think I may have texted you about it.
No, it's been a real challenge for years.
Yeah, I want to get a good commercial. I've never been of all the little clips that come up that the libs make fun of. I've never had a great commercial like that.
I don't think Bud Light will call anytime soon.
That Target has
special influencer can of Michael Knowles.
Give me that can. I could look great on there.
Right now, head on over to expressvpn.com/MichaelYT. Think for a moment about the idea that a single company controls 90% of internet searches, runs your email service, and gets to track everything you do on your smartphone. Big tech is more powerful than most countries, and it profits by exploiting your personal data. It is time to put a layer of protection between your online activity and these tech juggernauts, and that is why I strongly recommend ExpressVPN. This is the only VPN that I use. It's super easy. I'm a huge Luddite. You just download it, click one button, boom, you're online. It's very, very simple. Think about how much of your life is on the internet. Every site you visit, every video you watch, every message you send gets tracked. Data are mined. When you use ExpressVPN on your devices, the software hides your IP address, something big tech can use to personally identify you. ExpressVPN encrypts 100% of your internet data to keep you safe from hackers and eavesdroppers on your network. If I can do it, you can do it too. Very, very simple. Download the app on your phone or computer, tap one button, you're protected. ExpressVPN does all of that without slowing down your connection, so stop handing over your personal data. Go to expressvpn.com/MichaelYT. Get 3 extra months for free. That is expressvpn.com/MichaelYT. expressvpn.com/MichaelYT to learn more.
You're up. No, I'm up.
No, you're up.
I'm up. Okay. We really gave McCarthyism a bad rap. My only holdup is who's we?
Or which McCarthy?
And which McCarthy? Dan McCarthy at ISI. We gave that guy a bad rap. To quote William F. Buckley Jr., to paraphrase him, because I don't have it word perfect, McCarthyism is a political movement around which all Americans of stern moral fiber can rally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was right.
I wish the House Committee on Un-American Activities would have done more.
Yeah.
And they were right.
They were right. Senator
were
McCarthy
communists in
obviously was in the
Hollywood.
Senate.
They were communists in culture.
They got Alger Hiss. He was one of the top dogs at the State Department. He founded the UN.
The intel agencies turned McCarthyism into a slur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you guessed correctly.
They were right. Of course. Joe McCarthy. He burned too bright for our age.
Good man from Wisconsin. Okay. At this point, 95% of all white supremacists are actually undercover feds. This is too predictable.
The other 5% are Indian or Hispanic, I've discovered. I also love that our answers are just exact.
No, they're just
almost
right,
every time.
right in harmony.
Except for the tall guy one. The tall guy one. We'll get back to that one later.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot. We could plumb the depths of that. Similar to people who drink Bud Light, people who don't drink at all always seem to be hiding something from their father. Always seem to be hiding something from their father, similar to people who drink Bud Light. That's people who don't drink.
Okay. I don't know if you believe that.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Because especially some people I know don't drink for religious reasons or they've never had a drink before. A number of the people I know who don't drink because they've really had maybe one or two too many at times, and they've really lived life, and they might be hiding all sorts of things, but they're not hiding the kind of things that people who drink Bud Light are hiding, in my experience.
All right, next one.
Yep, okay.
Okay. Recycling is both fake and gay.
Our producer slips in a fake and gay question
Every time.
every single episode. Recycling is both fake and gay.
Yeah, I can't imagine you're kind of like a zealot for recycling.
No, when we moved into, I guess, our house, maybe it was an apartment, I think it was our house, my wife, she goes to me, she goes, Mac, I said, yeah, girl? She goes, can we, now that we're in our own place, can we not recycle? And I said, you know it. And you know it. This is our home. We can do whatever we want. It is also, we'll put the gay thing aside for a second. It is fake. Recycling isn't real. So much of what we put into the recycling bin just ends up in some trash heap in China or more likely in the middle of the ocean. It's not a thing. It's like barely a thing, right?
But basically, yeah.
Producing and distributing pornographic OnlyFans content should be banned and have criminal consequences.
For minors or just in general?
In general. Producing and distributing pornographic OnlyFans, this is a very specific,
incredibly
even
specific.
genre of pornography.
Yeah, so like not the other pornography, just this type?
Yeah, I guess, or at least this type.
Is that so? Producing and distributing?
Yeah.
The production and distribution.
And distribution's a key here. It's a very, very legally specific question. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're kind of like the integralist, right? So here you go.
I mean, there's never been a separation of church and state ever, in my opinion. It's a hard one because you would go after like 200 other kinds of pornography first before you got to.
But I mean, porn is a cancer on society.
But it's a cancer,
it's a poison.
If you're telling me at least we'll ban this, I'd say yeah, of course. It's not.
I mean, at the very least, like age verification and like also. I mean, that's like the baseline.
But it's so awful. OnlyFans is particularly insidious, actually, because any young girl who's 18 and wants to make a quick buck, and 18-year-olds are not known for making the wisest decisions, can log onto this thing, snap some pictures. She'll almost certainly not make any money anyway. This is how Faustian bargains often work. And then those pictures will be there forever. It's not going to necessarily ruin her life, but it's going to complicate her life a lot. And she could be out of it 2 months later, but the damage is already done. You think that's just awful. I mean, it's just degenerate men preying on vulnerable, gullible women, desperate women, For what? To arouse the lusts of other men. There's just everyone's a victim in the whole thing. I mean, everyone is degraded by the experience.
It doesn't point towards virtue at all.
No. So did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be my top, like...
Right, I'd
there
go
was
after
kind
the
of like
big ones first.
a regime of what we want to go after. But I think that, I mean, look, pornography has made... It's a tumor on society.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I've often thought when people talk about why is everything getting so crazy and irrational and degraded, and I think, well, so there's this thing that not a lot of people want to talk about, which what 95+% of men have looked at some point and maybe.
Oh no, I had my struggles with it, and I talk about it, and I try to warn young men not to
look at it.
No, I wish it would have been harder for me to access.
Because think about the median age of exposure to porn is like 11.
It's unbelievable.
Like that. And for some people, obviously, it's much younger. So if you've got a society that is, like, imagine if you had 90% of society hooked on opium, but no one talked about it, and it was totally legal and easy to obtain. You get opium delivered to your phone, this little portal to hell, like anytime you wanted. That would probably mess up our politics, wouldn't it? So if you've got opium, but instead of just damaging the rest of your body, it melts your brain and makes you view human beings as nothing but like sacks of flesh to be used, that is probably going to have a political effect.
Well, it's even worse than that, because you have a built-in, as men especially, desire to procreate.
Yeah.
And it completely destroys the ability to do that in a way that is virtuous, in a way that is ethical, in a way that is moral, in a way that is grounded, in a way that is traditional.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe most of the depression of young men can be from dopamine deprivation of pornographic addiction.
Oh, that's interesting. That it's not even just a depression of this is a degrading, shameful act, but it's like actually you're burning out your dopamine.
I mean, there's a fabulous book, Gary Wilson's book, Your Brain on Porn.
Yeah.
And
I hear it.
amazing.
I haven't read it.
No, I mean, he actually just passed away. It's too bad, because he was such an articulate defender. He isn't even a religious guy. He's like, this is causing issues across the board of male self-confidence, male suicide, male depression, male anxiety, and female as well. But I mean, what's really sad is female pornography habits are actually increasing right now.
Really?
Yeah, they are. And so, I mean, the spirit of the question is, I mean, our laws should make it harder to do the things we know that do not have any sort of redemptive value.
Yes. Yeah, and edifying value. I mean, these laws actually do exist. We did jail pornographers until very recently. The Bush number 2 jailed a pornographer for obscenity at the end of his administration.
And this is where, I mean, you wrote a whole book on it, where this is not what the founding fathers had in mind for speech.
No.
This would have been labeled licentiousness.
Right.
It would have been profane, not holy.
Right.
It would have been outlandish and against actually how human beings should live.
This is clarifying. Yeah. Screw OnlyFans. We got it. I should have answered even more quickly than I already did.
Am I up? Okay.
Up.
Fine. This is not that controversial. Fine. I'll say it. Teachers are overpaid. Oh, really?
I would say no. I mean, look, in certain places, New York, California, there's certain...
Yeah, I'm very biased where I grew up.
The union bosses are overpaid. Well, they actually do a great job for their members. They're just, what they do is corrupt the institution for the students. But in certain places, the teachers are overpaid. But in a lot of the rest of America, teachers are severely underpaid, which creates difficult incentive problems where they become much more reliant on the union, so they got to follow what the union sets for them, so they can't provide a good education. It's like all of these leftist politics, you know, a couple of these like piggies at the top get all the riches,
right.
And then a lot of other
cartel.
people are deprived. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in District 214 in Chicago, where gym teachers make $127,000 a year, right? And you guys can fact check it. Go to openthebooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski's website. You'll see the average wages in District 214 in the suburbs of Chicago for math teachers, gym teachers, upwards of $175,000 a year. You guys can fact check it. It's all right there.
Think about that annualized, because you get the summer off.
Of course, well, then you get 80% of that as a pension obligation once they retire, right? So to answer, I mean, you got this right in my experience, but yes, there are some places across America where teachers are woefully underpaid. Yeah. But the solution is fire bad teachers. We have way too many teachers.
Yeah.
And way too many administrators.
That's the real killer. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Excluding speaking out against the Catholic Church, the death penalty is wrong. Hold on, I don't even get the parenthetical. Excluding speaking out against the Catholic Church.
I think that's more directed towards you.
Like
like you-
I don't need to feel like I'm speaking out.
No, I think it meant that you would execute people that would speak out against the church.
Oh,
I
okay.
think whoever
yeah,
wrote that question, it was written for you.
Yeah, you make a great point. Thank you for interpreting what I
It's the
should-
vodka, but
Yeah, it is. Gin, thank you very much. I'm not just a
drinking gin?
teenage white girl. Oh, yeah. I find for a martini, it's got to be gin.
how Orwellian of you.
It's well, no, the vodka thing.
No, gin is the drink of choice in 1984.
Oh, that's right. Wow. Though I hope this is better than the Big Brother gin. Who knows though? Daily Wire budgets are kind of slipping a little bit. Okay, so the death penalty is wrong.
I know where you stand on this. Death penalty is wrong. No. So it's this is a really interesting one. This is my most unclear political position.
Really?
I used to be very against the death penalty, very much, for multiple reasons. I used to be somewhat morally, but that's actually not a good argument. Executing the wrong person really bothers me, and that does happen. And that there's a finality to the punishment, right? And
Well, is there?
well, if they're not saved.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's that old line from Dr. Johnson, which is, depend upon it, sir, when a man's to be hanged in a fortnight, it concentrates his mind wonderfully. So you kind of hope if you are facing execution, it almost accelerates the confrontation of
Yes.
who am I, where am I going, who's my God,
So if we were to look at it strictly biblically, there is no argument to say the Bible is 100% supportive of the death penalty.
Yeah.
It is without question. And I think in Catholic teaching, they're so screwed up when they're against the death penalty.
Yeah, the teaching of the church for just about 2,000 years is quite clear that the death penalty is A-OK. Doctors of the church.
In fact, it's necessary. That was the old teaching of the church.
I mean, there were many popes who have carried it out, including a pope who was beatified on his way to sainthood, Blessed Pius IX, he was the last pope in the Papal States before they got rid of the Papal States. He was asked for a stay of execution by the last criminal to be executed. And his answer was, we cannot do it, and we do not want to. So the church was very, unless you're telling me that St. Paul, advocated something deeply immoral or intrinsically evil, that's all, obviously.
No, but I mean, the Old Testament law in particular was very clear about life for a life.
Yeah.
Right? About what actually gets the death penalty.
Yeah.
Which is, even if an ox accidentally kills a human being, Exodus 20 or 21, you must kill the ox. You do not keep it alive. Right?
Yeah. And, there are some modern Catholics who have tried to make this argument, again, and I guess Protestants too, who've tried to make this argument that the death penalty undermines human dignity. But right back there in Genesis, the explanation for the death penalty is actually to defend human dignity.
No, that's correct.
Right?
Yes, it's life for life is what it is. And it's in fact, for example, the first recorded murder ever in Genesis 3, or Genesis 4, Cain and Abel, where Cain kills Abel. You remember God said, you didn't just kill Abel, it's the ground that is shrieking. Meaning, it's the future generations you killed of him. Think about that. So it's not just him; it is what he would have done. Yeah. It is the people he would have influenced, the sons or daughters he would have had. But with that being said, what was the exact wording of the question?
Death penalty is wrong.
The death penalty is wrong. Well, that's a moral question. So you did answer correctly.
You would say it's political.
But I would say in America, I would oppose the death penalty for a very specific reason, because right now the trend is this current government will use any power we give them against us. And this is the Patriot Act argument, right? The moral argument, I'm totally on board. If we had a government that was ethical and understood, duty and used
You're saying you think the government's so far gone that they could
practically right now in America, I think we should oppose the death penalty. We should.
Because they could start executing Charlie Kirks of the world.
No, they would. They absolutely, they would.
Maybe. I don't know if it's that far gone. It's pretty bad. I'm just saying,
No, it's that bad.
They're not doing it yet, at least.
The death penalty part?
Yeah, they barely carry out the death penalty at all.
No, because right now opposing the death penalty fits their agenda, which is to try to have compassion supersede justice, right? But make no mistake, as soon as the actual Bolsheviks take over, they're going to want to bring back the guillotine. Right?
They're going to come to this table.
The idea that Michael Knowles and Charlie could still be in a gulag on Alba is like, no. We got to wipe him off. He's still a threat. He's still breathing.
Yeah,
right?
We don't get the vacation to Alba. That's probably true. I'll drink to that anyway, to our, impending doom. No one here gets out alive anyway.
We'll go to heaven.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
In Catholic Church, are you guys certain of your heaven assurances?
Well, if we don't reject God's grace, and if we don't, die in a state of mortal sin, if we die in the state of grace, which is available to us by cooperating with God's grace and accepting Christ and being contrite for our sins and all the rest of that, then we can go to heaven. Might need a little expurgation period, but but there is a risk. Even I'm baptized, got the sacraments, confirmed in the faith. But if I reject God and I choose with the assent of my will to commit mortal sins, I could be liable to the fire.
There is biblical evidence for this that Protestants have to wrestle with. There is unforgivable sin in the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
And of course, Jesus alludes to the, I never knew who you were.
Yeah. And Christ says there's the unforgivable sin of blaspheming the Holy Spirit.
No, that's exactly right.
Which is sort of what I'm describing here, which is, that you do still have that free will to reject God's grace.
So blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the same essence of what is the one unforgivable sin of the Ten Commandments?
I don't know.
Do not carry the Lord's name in vain. It's the same thing.
That's interesting.
Do not blaspheme the Holy Spirit. Do not carry the Lord's name in vain.
But one could blaspheme.
It's not the same thing, but it's an essence.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a
which is a
parallel.
rejection or a misuse of the name of God or the language of God or the rejection thereof.
I'll have to meditate on that, because I was going through this recently, because I figured if I make some stray comment, if I laugh at a joke where someone mentions the Holy Spirit, could I have committed the unforgivable sin? And it's not quite that, right? I mean, and so
no, but I think the essence of Christ's teaching is: did you reject the advocate? Right? Did you reject what I left you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as Christ ascended, the Holy Spirit came down in Pentecost, which is here for us to be able to do His gifts, right? The fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control are the fruits of the Spirit, but then also the gifts of the Spirit, right? Healing, speaking of tongues, etc.
Yeah. That's.
I think I'm up.
You're up. Okay. I need more
Or you can go again if
self-control
you
on my
want.
gin, yeah.
If I had to choose between the two corrupt world leaders named Vladimir, I would have more fun playing yes or no with Putin. Oh, I see what you're saying. Who would you have more fun playing yes or no with?
Zelensky or Putin?
Yeah. Okay, right.
And so it's saying I would have more fun with Putin? That's the prompt?
Yeah, correct, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt, right?
I mean, yeah, not that uppity Forder in a t-shirt.
That is the most beautiful description I've heard of the leader of Ukraine. Yeah.
I didn't come up with it, it was Tucker's. But
It was Tucker. Tucker, he's got some great lines.
It says in the Bible that you must honor those who you get things from.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good memory.
It's funny?
Success leaves clues.
What's funny about Putin? Until very recently, he was, if not idolized, he was exalted by the West. He was a World Economic Forum, young global leader. He was...
Because they thought they could liberalize Russia.
They thought they could liberalize Russia, and it didn't happen.
See, Putin's not a good guy. He's a thug, okay? But this idea that somehow we in the West don't do deals with thugs is just one of the most laughable geopolitical arguments I've ever heard. The whole Russia thing is one of the great cons pulled on the American people right now. The fact that we're giving even $1 to this failed project of the current state of Ukraine. First of all, Zelensky's a really bad person. He is corrupt, he's a liar, he's a cheat.
Ukraine is not known for its clean
First of all, it's
politics.
a fake country, the way it's currently constituted. There is a Ukrainian people. Eastern Ukraine is part of Russia. They speak Russian. They want to be part of Russia. Crimea, you heard of the Yalta Conference? That's in Crimea.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean...
so why is this our problem is the more important question, right?
Ukraine has been conquered so many times by so many people, it was even conquered by the Poles. Poland is one of the most conquered places on earth itself, and yet Poland conquered Ukraine.
Look, let me be clear. Putin invading Ukraine is a bad thing.
Yeah, we're not
Us exasperating the conflict and not trying to broker peace is also a bad thing.
Yeah. Going back to the early 90s, you had serious American statesmen, including conservatives, who said, hey, NATO as a defensive alliance probably shouldn't expand too much eastward.
We
That's probably
provoked
going to
them.
antagonize.
You have Lady Graham going right up to the border of Ukraine saying, we're going to play offense. This is the year we're going to go back to D.C. Could you imagine if the Russians or the Chinese went to Mexico City?
Yeah.
In fact, we know what that is. We know what happens when. That's called the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, it was probably a bad look for the director of the CIA to arrive in Kiev 2 weeks after the Maidan revolution that may have had a little bit of support from the West.
Totally democratic, bottom up, grassroots.
Not the best look. But you had all these guys, Sam Nunn, Kissinger, Dan Patrick Moynihan, all these guys, George Kennan, author of The Long Telegram, saying, hey, NATO, if you keep expanding eastward and antagonize Russia, that's going to escalate the prospects for war. If you don't respect buffer states, which have played an important role historically, that's going to increase the risks of war. And then, what do we get? And then Biden literally invited the guy to invade.
People underestimate how big of a role social issues play in the Ukrainian conflict. Is that it's a proxy war for LGBT versus antiquity. That's really what it is. I'm not saying that's why you should cheer for Russia or not, but the rallying cry internally for the Kremlin and the rallying cry internally at NATO is that we're super pro-woke. Russia says we're super not. That is the mantra that both sides are using.
Regardless of what Ukraine actually thinks. It's sort of Ukraine is just the battleground.
No, of course, but unfortunately they're victims for all this. Ukrainian people. But the actual, the leaders of, the leaders from Brussels and the leaders from Moscow both use social positioning as a way to rally the funding and the troops and the personnel on both their respective sides.
That's so true. I mean, this was one of the arguments about the rest of the kind of American imperial project was I say, okay, I'm all
the Great American Empire.
G-A-E.
That's the gay.
Truly, I thought, okay, if we're going to spread our values around the world and it's truth, justice, and the American way, okay, great. But if the thing we're spreading around the world is the rainbow flag in Kandahar or something, then what are we doing? Why would we do that?
This is the argument to end the war in Ukraine, is it's a proxy war for the woke idea virus.
Yeah.
And it supports the whole State Department. Their why is not about the Constitution or consent to the governed or the Declaration or fulfilling some sort of Madisonian mandate of people-centered government. The why of the State Department is that we can push back that evil monster Putin because he believes one man, one woman marriage.
But is there a fear? This is the best argument I've heard for us in Ukraine. Is there a fear that if we wind down the war, or let's say we allow Russia to take more of Ukraine, that will embolden, say, Xi in Taiwan?
They're already emboldened. They're creating their own currency in St. Petersburg in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What we should have done is said, Russia, no, you can have Eastern Ukraine, hold elections, and let's create an actual force to strengthen the dollar and then crush the CCP. The opposite is happening.
Yeah.
You now have India, China, and Russia going to St. Petersburg in the coming weeks. They're going to create a currency move to destabilize the dollar. So we're going to possibly lose the dollar as the world reserve currency status because why? To support Zelensky, like the failed TV actor made prime minister.
By the way, when the U.S. loses, if the U.S. were to lose global reserve currency status, all of a sudden our 100%, 110% debt to GDP ratio becomes a little bit more of a problem than it is right now.
All of a sudden, hyperinflation. You'll have 30% inflation because all those dollars then have to get released immediately as their reserves, right? So Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Indonesia, they're like, okay, here's a wire transfer. Here's $300 billion coming home, and then they'll have 30% inflation. But don't worry, hey, supporting Zelensky's worth it.
So you would rather play the game with Putin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I? Okay. Climate change is obviously caused by the sun and has nothing to do with human activity.
There's no nuance in any of these questions,
no,
by the way.
It's pretty clear. Climate change
is
is
an
obviously
awfully
caused
binary.
by the sun.
Yeah, if I had to tilt more side than not, that's how I'd answer for you.
Yes, and for you as well. Did I get that right?
Yes-ish, only because that's way too absolute.
It's way too, and it could be, forget about even the humans and the cars or whatever. It could just be weather patterns.
No,
and
of course.
It could just be all these natural kind of geological things that have happened for
I don't think the sun is the only contribution to global temperatures as it is.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be that,
But it's not necessarily carbon.
Right.
Carbon is life. You do not have life without carbon.
Yeah.
Everything that matters is built on carbon.
I also just love this lib idea. Well, one, obviously, we all know they've changed the climate story 1,000 times, and it was going to cool, and it was going to warm, and it was this, and it was that. But I love the idea that until about 1968, the climate was just totally static.
That's correct.
And the global mean temperature, whatever that means, it was just always exactly the same. And then about 1968, it all started to change, and that's why we've got to give up our money and our rights and our cars.
But then why do you think that is?
Well, I think it has a little bit more to do with a political campaign to upend our order in our society than it does with the sun monster.
It's also because they don't like humans.
Yeah, of course.
That's why they have to call it anthropogenic. We're the problem.
Yeah.
Right? And they believe nature untouched is the ideal.
Right.
And nature is not holy. It is not orderly. Right? Nature untouched is not moral and it's not personal. God is all those things.
Right. And yeah, it's an important point because they'll say, oh, we have overpopulation. You say,
We really don't.
for what? Yeah, first of all, we don't. But second of all, what is the nature for? Like, if we're the problem, we serve the rocks? Is that it? We serve the deer?
Well, this is what river civilizations used to believe, though. And
Yeah.
the Bible crushed this belief, right? They believe that you worship the river, you worship the sun, you worship the dirt. And the Bible makes the claim that this is for you. You take dominion over the earth, that there's a hierarchy, right? Nature, man, God.
When
The West is built on that idea.
Yeah, when you worship created things, there is a word for that. It's not spoken very highly of in the Bible. That would be called idolatry.
Yes, and that is exactly why it's the first commandment. Well, it's actually the first statement. You shall have no other gods before me.
Yeah. All right, you're up. I'll drink anyway. I'll drink to that. Drink to life.
Looking at the data, women are actually more shallow than men. So who's more shallow is essentially what we're...
Women are not more, well, the statement is simply women are more shallow than men.
So yes, women are more shallow than men, or no? Is that the
It's
question?
tough because of double negative.
It's like a double negative, right?
The way I was phrasing it was no. Okay.
I know, it's very...
This is not, are more shallow. So looking at the data, women are actually more shallow than men. So I'd say no to that statement, meaning no, women are not more shallow than men.
Okay, I think that... Yeah, I think that's... So who's more superficial, basically?
Well, it doesn't necessarily, it could be that they're both equally shallow.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't mean that one is more so than the other. Did I get that right?
I don't know.
Here's my argument. Here's, because I was trying to think about this.
So who's deeper? Is that the question?
Who goes deeper? So you could make an argument and say, well,
Depends on what topic, though.
yes, that's the issue. And also, I think of the Pietà, in the Michelangelo Pietà, and I think the depth of Mary's grief holding her crucified son, who is God, and the Son of God, it probably doesn't get a lot deeper than that, right? So, but now men are deep in other ways, right? Men can be deeper in some ways than women are.
Men are always deeper on the macro, and women are always deeper on the micro.
Mm.
And this is Prager's whole thing, right? Which
Yeah.
is, I mean, I know you host radio. If you're talking about the stock market or economics or
Yeah.
sports, every single call will be from men.
Yeah.
If you're talking about relationships or divorce or gossip, every call will be from women. Right? So that picture of the Pietà is exactly right.
Yeah.
The personal. Now, what's the equally as popular piece of art that you'll see is Moses with the Ten Commandments looking up to the heavens, visionary, abstract, big ideas. That's why when men come home from work, how was work? Fine.
Yeah.
Right? It's because it's too detailed, it's too micro, it's too immediate. It's just not something that we'll dwell over.
Yeah.
I mean, so women will replay conversations in their head when men will think about how, we can retake Byzantium, right? That's big
like,
difference,
how
right?
can I go conquer the Saracens?
Yeah, and then meanwhile they're going to be like, are you sure my neighbor likes me? Are you sure? And that's actually, they're both equally important though, right?
Yeah.
And so...
Because the argument against this is the argument that got Larry Summers fired, which is, he got fired because he said that one of the reasons why there aren't a lot of female mathematicians at the very highest levels of academia is because the bell curve of intelligence for men is just wider. And so that means that the very, very smartest people on earth are going to be men. Yes. And also the very, very dumbest people on earth are going to be men. And this created a political uproar, and he was run out of Harvard, even though Larry Summers is actually pretty liberal.
Correct.
Now, the reason I don't think that would be a good refutation of this question is Depth is about a lot more than IQ. I know people who have a relatively very high IQ. They're very shallow people.
Correct.
Right? And so I'm not sure there's a huge connection there.
Yeah, again, it depends on the topic. Micro, women are far deeper.
Yeah.
Macro, I think men are much deeper.
Yeah, okay. That's good. My wife has completely stopped shopping at Target. Yeah, for sure, right? Did you? We had a conversation about this.
On air?
No, not you and I. My wife and I.
Okay.
She asked me the other night. She goes, Mac, we can't go to Target now? I said, we can't. Yeah, I guess we can.
Are you married like Whoopi Goldberg?
Wait, that sounds, you never heard, some people say that that's not what my wife actually sounds like. To me, that's a perfect representation. Mac! And so she was like, I've never heard it described as a Whoopi Goldberg voice.
No, it sounds like Whoopi Goldberg from some one of those movies. That's.
Yeah, from the Ted Danson comedy special. Who knows? I said to her, we have to stop shopping at Target because even though it has the best variety and sometimes price on Spindrift, which I live on, these are sacrifices we have to make. And people have been called on to make bigger sacrifices. And they're just avowedly doubling down on transing the kids. We can't shop there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't shop there before. They're dead to us.
Right?
Yeah, but we have a whole list. This is why I like McCarthyism, right? Is that you have to have a list of the things.
Of 200.
Well, it's like North Face, Ford, one after the other.
I was never an upper middle class suburban white girl, so I never had the privilege of wearing North Face. But they're dead to me. I won't wear them anymore. The Ford truck, I'm a little more of a sedan guy.
I mean, but this is what's perplexing to me. I mean, do they really think?
Oh yeah. The Raptor.
Well, I mean, out of all the communities that are going to buy Raptors, are they like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Western San Francisco, they're all of a sudden going to start buying Raptors.
That's where they are. That's where Greenwich Village. That's where you see the highest proportion of Raptors in the country. Yeah, not quite.
We all owe Tom Cruise a thank you and an apology. He made Top Gun Maverick and was totally right about treating mental health issues with prescription drugs.
So you could rephrase the question and say, Matt Lauer is glib. He's glib. Duh.
Tom Cruise is right.
Tom Cruise is right.
Benzos are destroying so many young people's lives.
Yeah.
Xanax,
SSRIs.
Zoloft, SSRIs,
Yeah.
serotonin disruptors.
Yep.
We are over-medicating our society massively.
I do think he's probably wrong about the aliens coming and with the Thetans and the... But you're keeping an open mind.
No, I mean, I'm a Christian. I'm just saying, like, I don't think we have to always overcompensate when somebody's right,
I agree.
I think that he gets so much unfair ridicule.
He totally does.
And, he's kind of become a caricature.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Matt Lauer interview, he was so forceful about now what we clinically know, which is now the research is showing it, the vast majority of depression-type diagnoses are not actually anything that could be proven through chemistry, right? It's about brain health. It's about whether or not you're feeding yourself correctly, vitamin D levels, right? Exercise. What are you consuming? Do you have healthy dopamine habits? Are you dripping dopamine or are you dumping dopamine?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise talked about all of that.
He called it out in like 2005, I think it was. Yeah. And also he's a marvelous film actor. He's truly the last movie star. He's just great.
He's pro-American.
The other thing is, because people always make fun of the Scientology stuff, but think about all the other stuff that Hollywood and just libs in general believe. The crystals and the Reiki and the vibes and the energy. And
or like you have Sam Smith dancing to Satanist stuff.
Yeah.
Like, lay off him, man.
Right. Yeah,
like, I mean, obviously it's not my cup of coffee, but I just think the whole thing is so...
I totally agree.
And I think, honestly, they go after him so hard because he criticizes Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson.
Yes, yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. And when he sat there with total seriousness and just said, Matt, you are glib, that was a precise word to describe the libs. The libs are very glib. Okay. The catastrophic drop in male testosterone levels over the past 50 years is the result of a plot to feminize and turn the men into libs in order to make the population more easily controlled by the globalists. And currently the only way to fight it is to go to the freaking gym, do a cold plunge at 35 to 45 degrees, and stop touching receipts. Wow, based. That's a really deep cut to say that. Hold on. Due to YouTube rules, Make your guess, but do not verbally confirm if the other person guessed correctly. Give only an ambiguous, non-verbal confirmation. Did you get all that?
Yeah. So it basically says go to rumble.com for the answer.
Yeah,
Go
right.
download the Rumble app.
So you got, okay, we'll make the guess somehow, but then we don't confirm or deny how the person did.
Sure.
Going to the gym, I don't know about the gym, but okay. Okay.
Wait, out of all the things we talked about, that's what's going to violate YouTube rules?
That's going to violate Michael's rules. Okay, so the plot, the catastrophic drop, the only way you got to step. Okay.
I don't know if you got it right.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
It's your guess.
Okay, you're up.
It's possible that if you interact with an AI, you're actually interacting with a real demon.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Have you ever agreed with a guest as much as this?
No, this is actually truly, other than tall people are better at politics.
We got to settle that one.
We have to set. That's going to be
Because
the
it's
next special. I know.
It's unclear
ambiguous.
what it
I
really
know.
means.
I know. It has moral dimensions.
Napoleon was great as politics, not the best moral.
No, he was not.
leader
Yes,
of the last
exactly.
250
I know.
years.
We'll have an entirely separate yes or no for that. Otherwise, I think we've agreed on virtually every issue. One was on
the other one that we
a woman thing.
No, there was either the death penalty or it was something else.
The teachers.
That's
but we
correct.
also
Yeah, but there was some nuance.
There was nuance
It
there.
was too
Okay, well,
binary.
all right. Let's see if we can split it up for the last one.
All right. We got to disagree more. This
Yeah,
is
I know.
weird.
Enough time has passed. We can all finally admit that Princess Diana was probably taken out before she could totally destroy the entire British monarchy. But she was taken out. They were saying it was like MI6 or something like that. Okay, the only reason I'm going to have to disagree here. The only reason I'm gonna have to
you're a
disagree.
defender of the intel agencies.
No.
You're telling us the whole story.
I have to go back further. The reason that prompt I have to answer no is because the British monarchy was destroyed
then that's not the real question. No.
I'm saying after James II was unjustly routed out of England
The
by
real essence
William and
is,
Mary
was
of
there
Orange
more to
and
Princess
Park.
Diana's death? That's the real essence. That's what I answered based on. Was it just really an innocent car chase?
You're saying, was there a little more to the story?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to put my glass here just for a second, just very near to me. One time, I was in a situation where I had a security agent near me, and there was a person who seemed a little bit out of place. He was occasionally taking glances at me, and I talked with a security agent later, and I said, "What do you think? It could have just been a coincidence. And this was a period of particularly heightened security." And he turned to me and he said, "Mr. Knowles, as a security professional, I don't like coincidences. They happen, but as a security professional, one would not like them." Yeah.
You answered correctly. There's definitely more to that story. Motives unknown. That's why I didn't like the second part of the answer.
Yeah, okay, motives unknown. Okay.
Okay. Is this the final one?
Is this the last one? All right, here we go.
You will find out more about somebody by looking at their discovery page on Instagram than you would from going out on a lunch date.
You got it wrong, my friend.
Really? Well, you got it wrong too.
I did? Okay. So,
And you go first.
my discovery page on Instagram. I'll tell on myself. Here.
What do they mean, discovery page?
So you click on Instagram. There's the magnifying glass, and it just shows you I think that's the one. It just shows you kind of just random people's accounts and stuff. And mine is divided into. There are only 3 things that show up in this.
Oh, I thought they meant like the profile page.
No, not the profile. No. It's the discovery, like what the algorithm thinks you are
But
liking.
If you're going out on a random lunch date, why would somebody have a discovery page?
No, meaning, like if, let's say I want to know about Charlie Kirk, and I could, and I don't know.
Oh, so you got access to my discovery page.
Exactly.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, no, then that's a different answer.
So then you say no. You think the lunch date will tell you more than the discovery page.
Which one's which?
The no is lunch date will tell you more. The yes is discovery page will tell you more.
Oh, lunch date would totally tell you more.
But the discovery page is, I mean, the algorithm is very good in that I get 3 things on my algorithm. I like watches. I like wristwatches. Here I'm wearing a very fine Timex wristwatch. They don't need to be expensive, but I like clocks and horology. I don't know why. I just like it. Okay, it's a hobby. It's an interest. It's not even a hobby. I like memes. I like kind of funny memes. And I like music. So, guitar, piano, these things. It's the only 3 things that pop up on my discovery page. And it's getting smart in that it'll often be musical jokes. Like it'll be guitar or piano memes or it'll be kind of these. So it's good. I mean, the algorithm is good. But I like to think that there's a little bit more to my personality than keeping time, playing music, and laughing. I like to, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
so
Instagram knows me
page
better.
Is if you could go into somebody else's discovery.
Yes. Yeah. Would you think
I
the
haven't
lunch
used
date?
Instagram in years. So
Oh, you blessed man. Blessed man. So it is totally managed by
our whole
like
team.
TPUSA. Or
I don't have access to any of my social media accounts.
That's so smart. Not even Twitter. You don't really. Wow, that's so.
Why
smart.
would I? I mean,
Oh.
it's your mind's
Ben is
clear,
like
you're
that.
happier. Yeah, the
Yeah.
whole team manages it all. So if I want to tweet something, I just say tweet this.
So I don't use it. I use Instagram pretty infrequently. I don't have TikTok. I don't really use Facebook unless I'm searching for somebody to get in contact. The one for me is Twitter. I can't give up my Twitter.
Yeah, that was tough.
I can't give it up. I love it.
After what happened in the 2020 election, I gave it up. I said I can't deal with it.
Yeah, that's very good. And the other thing is, it depends on who's on the lunch date. You can find out a lot about a person on a lunch date. If you're a bad conversationalist, if you're not interested in the other person.
But it's a lunch date, not a dinner date. It's different.
That is different. Because you have 3 martinis at lunch.
Oh, that's right.
And at dinner, who knows? I'm actually, Charlie, your teetotaling is worn off on me.
Oh, is that right?
Look at that. Is
that not a lot for you?
That's not. I should have had at least 3 of these martinis. Then I would be speaking in cursive.
You'd be speaking in tongues.
I would be.
Some
version
like a true
of it.
Pentecostal.
Yeah, yes, at least in my mind, I would be.
Yes.
Charlie, I think we both won.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to have you back. We'll discuss the height question.
So it's like World War I, where it's just a total
It's a complete
mess.
stalemate until World War II.
Who's on what side?
Who's on what's? A question also for the next time. Until then, I'm Michael Knowles. This is Charlie Kirk. Happy playing.